And we'll continue going from there. We're gonna, I had a shtickle ish kodesh, but it's a little bit of a deeper place. I feel like it's more apropos for Shalosh Shodis. So we'll leave it and we'll move on to a simple idea from the Vilna Gaon. I think it's an idea that we've all heard. However, certain ideas that we hear and certain stories that we're told, we have to remind ourselves. Because sometimes, as Mesilas Yesharim says, that which is most obvious is that which we have to remember. And also because maybe we're not actually doing what we know is so obvious. So what am I referring to? The pasuk in the parsha that says, "V'ra'u kol amei haaretz ki shem Hashem nikra elecha v'yaru mimeka." That all the nations of the world will see that Hashem's name is written on you and they'll be scared of you. Says the Gemara, what does it mean Hashem's name is written on you? Zewi tefillin shel roish. That they'll see that you have your tefillin on your head and people will be scared of you. So it's a famous story with the Vilna Gaon. He's traveling and he goes to an inn and he has nowhere to stay because the place is full of drunkards. They say, there's one room, but the chief police officer, he's going to be staying there. So Vilna Gaon says, okay, I'll go daven over there. So he goes into the room and he's middle of davening, and all of a sudden the police officer comes in, and the police officer is about to walk to his room, and they say, oh, by the way, there's someone utilizing your room in prayer. So the officer's, my room, chutzpah, he's using my room. And the police officer calls his henchmen, and they go into the room, obviously with intent to do who knows what to the guy. And what happens? From the outside of the room, they see the police officer and his people walk into the room, running out, makes a mad dash out. And when they ask the guy afterwards, what happened? What did he do to them? The guy says, I did nothing. I was sitting there and davening. Says the guy in the pasuk in this week's parasha, they saw me davening and I was wearing my tefillin. Says the pasuk, V'ro kol amei haaretz ki shem Hashem nikra elecha v'yaru mimeka, and they're going to run away from you. But now, what's the obvious question? We all wear tefillin, right? We all. So why aren't people afraid of us? Why, okay, there's all halacha, whether you're supposed to wear tefillin in front of Goyim, which we're actually not supposed to do. It's a mistake people make. It's not usually that relevant because, but this is one of the reasons why you ever wonder, maybe you're in Yerushalayim and you see these tzaddikim walking through the streets in their tefillin, and you're like, why don't we do that here? It sounds so gishmak. The answer is you're not supposed to be in a place that Goyim see you with your tefillin. But the reason is, explains the Vilna Gaon,
Traveling?
Oh, but okay, so that's why you sort of go to a corner. We try not to especially nowadays, certainly want to be careful. But says the Vilna Gaon, yeah, well, that's, okay.
I like it.
Well, at some level, as long as we're not inciting, this goes back to the first Mishnah Bura, Mamish, the beginning of all of Chelek, all of Halacha in our Chaim. He talks about how we're not supposed to be afraid of people. But then he continues and he says, but also we have to be careful what they think of us. And this is the obvious balance. And of course, different people have different ways of utilizing it, and we just have to be careful. But to mention that if you look at the Gemara carefully, and this is really what the Vilna Gaon said, the Gemara says, not the tefillin she'al haroish, tefillin shebiroish, tefillin that's in your head. What does it mean, the tefillin that's in your head? What it means is, it says that the Shem Hashem is nikra alecha. The Vilna Gaon, when he wore tefillin, the Shem Hashem were his head. So when this police officer, when other people came in and saw him, what did they see? They didn't see a Vilna Gaon, they didn't see a tefillin, they saw the Shem Hashem. So that's why they were so afraid. So of course, what this means is that if we utilize and we only do what's appropriate in our tefillin, then of course it has that higher level of shmira on us, and that's what we can learn from the pasuk that Kishem Hashem, that what's going to happen, the Kohen will see it and they'll run away from us. But of course, it's just so important. One of those things we have to always remind ourselves of the kedusha of tefillin. I've told numerous stories about watching people put on one tefillin and forget the other thing. But we just have to be careful. It's one of those things that because maybe we're not so. We're not so vigilant, I guess is the right word. We put on our tefillin and we're davening. We have to, it's something that always needs a heightened awareness. I was talking to Rav in the, we're talking to Rav in the Five Towns. We'll leave it at that. He wanted to be nameless. And he said to me that, one thing that drives him crazy is phones in a shul. That's what he said to me. He said, I can't handle it. Can't handle it. Can't handle it. He said by him, he put one of those fancy boxes outside, and he's mamish militant against it. And what he said to me was just interesting. And I think we all know certain shuls away. But he said, why has it become the norm is the other way? Meaning, if the pshat is, the norm is we're in a shul, we're davening. There's no phones. There's no talking. And now there is places that okay. He says, why am I the chiddush? Why is the chiddush to say, oh, you're davening, don't be in your phone? He said, it just we have to reorient ourselves with reality. No. If it was him, I'd be quoting him by name. But he says we have to reorient ourselves with reality, and it's true. I think sometimes we just have to like ask ourselves, like, is what I'm doing normal? We get so ingrained into doing certain things, and then like we just do them, and then once we have to like ask ourselves, like, what exactly am I doing? And that's really one of the big lessons of this week's parsha, that the pasuk says, "Shalom yali." Why? Ki b'shrirus libi elech. Everything's good for me. Why? And I go on my way. And this is, of course, the beginning of the Teichacha. And it says Hashem's going to race you and Hashem's going to do all terrible things. What's so bad? Ki b'shrirus libi elech. What's so bad? You're just going on your merry way. What's the big deal? So the simple answer is, oh boy, simple answer is, no, it's all good. The simple answer is, yeah. The simple answer is that, what does it mean, ki b'shrirus libi elech? What does it mean, shalom yili, everything will be good? It means it's a person that's not listening to anything going on around him. He's just going, everything's good. Everything's good. What's the problem? I don't have to fix, as we started before. I don't have to change anything. I'm going to go on my way. And of course, that is the most dangerous thing in the world. That is mamish, the beginning of the Teichacha. Because if we ever think, ad yom till the day we die, that we're perfectly fine, shalom yali, everything will be fine, that's the scariest statement for someone to make. And the first and most obvious thing to do during El, most basic, at the smallest level of the first dot, is to say, it can't be imperfect. It can't be everything is perfect. I need something. It could be teeny, it could be large. It could be one area, it could be 10 areas. It could be something that people know, it could be something that people don't know. But the first thing is we have to ask ourselves, do we live life ki b'shrirus libi elech? Or that's the first step. And as we've spoken so many times, if we just are a little bit honest with ourselves, like we're hearing this story with the Volney Goan, and we're mentioning about using our phones in shul, maybe we have to ask ourselves, are we one that has been sucked in by the society around us that just uses our phones? And we're all guilty, even in Bati Midrashim. It used to be a thing that just doesn't come in. You still will go into certain places in the world, and like we look at them like they're crazy. What? What do you mean? What are you doing here? Now, okay, we're not talking about evil kanayis and yelling and screaming, but it's certainly something that we have to ask ourselves. I saw someone sent me a beautiful picture. Beautiful picture. It's a shul in Jackson. It was he sent it to me from MKY. I just want to read it. It's such a beautiful way that they wrote it. It says as follows: Baruch Hashem, our shul has made a Kabbalah not to talk during davening. We kindly request that all who enter our shul please assist us in maintaining our Kabbalah Yiratzon Shetkablas Filasenu Barachamim Uveratzon. Which means there's a group of people, they say, we don't want to talk. What's the problem? We all know what the problem is. We don't want to talk. Then the guy next to me talks, the guy next to him talks. And so, in a very nice way, I'm just asking you for help. I want to be a better person. I want to. What's the problem? It's very difficult. So we put up a sign. This is in every area. We want to be better in so many areas. But then what happens is someone else, not purposely, he just happens to say something to us before we. So this first step, and it's not about talking in shul, it's not about phones in shul. I mean, it is. It's about everything. It's about life itself. We don't want another teichacha, and there's too many crazy stories. I mean, the obvious, and I just heard someone talk about this, and it's so obvious that like you don't have to mention it. He said, "What's the lesson of the past few days with everyone's phones and beepers and the whole world blowing up?" He said, "The lesson is technology is dangerous. It's obvious. It's simple. It's almost so cliche. It's like how could you even say it? But then like hey Taka, okay, I didn't get all the details. Someone filled me in afterwards, but it apparently is of the coolest things that Israel has pulled off in a very very long time. But it's true. It's such a simple lesson. Yeah, technology is dangerous, but I'm not even talking about the evils. And you know that we're all very technologically savvy, and I'm sure many people will be watching this on technology, which of course means that technology, as always, everything could be utilized in both ways. But I want to go even one step more fundamental to ask ourselves, are we living ki b'shrirus libi elech, Or are we trying to live as a person like the Vilna Goan? Okay, we're never going to be the Goan, but at least maybe at least with tefillin. And someone would say, what? So I should take off my tefillin when I use my phone? Yeah. What's the big deal? Halavai. Halavai. Someone should say, you know what? When I'm wearing my tefillin, Kedusha. No talking. But Rabbi, yeah, but I need to talk. Okay, so take off your tefillin. Finish. Finish. Why don't we wear a tefillin the whole day? You go in Eretz Yisrael, you see the Zilberman kids, they wear the tefillin all day. We all learn Gemaras, we all know Chazal. They wear the tefillin all day. Why don't we? Because we don't have a guf naki. We don't have a clean body. We don't have a machshava tahira. We don't have pure thoughts, so we don't wear a tefillin all day. So I don't know, and I'm not being radical. I'm not suggesting that the whole world do this, but maybe one has to ask themselves, you know what? Maybe I should only wear. I should start by training myself and say, you know what? I'm only going to wear tefillin when I'm focused. Maybe I'll put them on, a little bit later into davening, and maybe I'll take them off of mamish right after Shemona Esrei. But then maybe I'll train myself that when I'm wearing tefillin, it's kaddish, it's tahar. And then obviously we hope to extend it. And obviously, which is with everything, someone's going to say, okay, I'm not going to talk during this part of davening. Great. Now, obviously, you hope to grow, and that's part of life itself. But we have to ask ourselves, are we living in a way that we're not listening to the world around us, that we're not listening to the messages, that we're just saying, everything is good, I don't need to change? If we are, it's a very scary thing, because that is the beginning of the Teichacha. Of course, none of us are. What's the biggest proof none of us are? Either because you're sitting here, or because you're listening to this. That's the biggest proof that, or you thought you're clicking on someone that's about to tell you a story, and you got rudely awakened, and you now want to click off because maybe we said something that tugged a chord. And with that, we'll end. Just another area that we have to be careful of, ki b'shviras libi elech, is all of our defense mechanisms. This is a little bit of a psychological thought. Those who want to, the Torah portion has ended, but sometimes psychology could really help us. Sometimes we have to ask ourselves, this is something that I actually spoke with some of the chaver about. Sometimes we have to ask ourselves, is it a defense mechanism or is it real? Am I saying that I don't want to listen because there's really a problem, or because it touches me somewhere deep down, and therefore all my defense mechanisms go off, and I find every reason in the world? We know Chachma by Goyim Tamin. Everything. You better why? Wisdom by the Goyim you should believe. Why should you believe it? He's a guy. Why? The answer is because it's true. Chachma is true. So if there's truth there, you take the truth out of it. So in a similar vein, we just have to realize when we're trying to go down this road that we don't want another Teichacha. We don't have to talk about the terrible things that happened in the past year. And we don't have to start wondering about all the horribles that could happen. So the first step is, we don't want to Teichacha. We can't live ki b'shiras libi elich. We can't live that nothing bothers me. So let's just be a little bit careful. And let's realize that, wait, maybe the reason why I'm saying that there was a problem with what that rabbi or that speech or that thing that I read, maybe the reason why I have all the reasons it's horrible is because it was real. And it touched me, and I realized that I have a problem, I have to change, or I have to do something better. So let's try a little bit. Again, whether it's in davening, whether it's in tefillin, whether it's in any area. As you always say, I'm always afraid to give examples, because then everyone has a reason why those examples don't apply to them. But then kol tov, I don't have to change anything. Or we say no, something. We definitely don't want another teichacha, and b'siyata deshmaya. With a little bit of focus, we'll get there. Emir Hashem.